my name is Lizzy Gigs and I'd like to share my love of stamping with you. I'm going to be making this card today. And before we get started, I want to show you the other two cards that I made that go with this set. Here's this one. And here's this one. You can see right away that I've used the same color theme for all of these cards, and that makes it easy because if you've got your favorite paper all tucked away, 2 sheets like you know we all do in that huge mass of paper land that we've all got tucked away, this would be a good time to pull it out and use it up because you love that paper and you want to make some great cards with it. This makes everything match, and then you don't have to go searching for different supplies for every single card you make. So we're going to start with this one right here. And I want to show you the set of stamps that I used to make it. I love this set of stamps. This is a set by Hero Arts. Okay, I want to start with a piece of paper that really appeals to me. This is by Bo Bunny. It's got some butterflies on the bottom here. And I'm just going to move this around. A little bit grungy here and there, very tasteful. Decorative elements, little bits of color. And I'm going to take those colors and run with it. This blue is something I was really attracted to. I'm not really hip about the yellow right now, so I'm going to pick a different color that'll stand out. And that color is, right now, I'm really into this coral color these days. This is by Pink Paisley. So I'm going to use that. You can see how great it looks with my blue. And then I want to pick another piece of paper that matches. Something that pulls all those together and gives me something else to pull from. This is actually Christmas paper, but I'm going to try not to let the Christmas part of it show up. So I'm going to go somewhere over here. Okay, so we've got those same blues showing up. Okay, it's not fighting with my coral color, and it gives me something else to work with. And I'm just going to make sure that when I cut a piece out, it doesn't have Christmas all over it. Now that I have that, I'm going to just see what's on the bottom of this one. And I've got a great looking blue and some newspaper. I'm going to try using that too. So now we've got that. So the next thing I want to do is pick some elements to go with that. Things that I can use to make my card look good without thinking too hard. I just kind of run around and find things that match. Okay, so the first one is this beautiful piece of sparkly blue ribbon by Creative Impressions. This beautiful satinish ribbon from May Arts, and then I've got a neutral also from May Arts, some lace. Okay, and none of these colors are going to fight with my card. Here it is. Okay, so that's really important. Now I'm going to pick some inks. Again, I'm going to draw a little bit from this piece of paper right here. Starting with that piece of paper makes it very easy to pick the other things that we need. So I'm going to use Frayed Burlap, Tim Holtz. Stormy Sky is a great matching blue. Goes with that butterfly right there and our ribbon over there. Okay, and Old Paper, which is kind of a neutral that can fill in some of the background colors for us. I love that. All right, and then I need some tools to help me add my own color, and I've picked these 3 colored pencils. I've got the blue, the coral, and a little deeper red just to bring out some highlights. The other thing I want to add are some rhinestones. Here they are. Okay, so it's that blue, the stormy sky, the ribbon, the blue from my butterfly. There we go. And now when I make my second and my third card, I don't have to kind of scurry around all my supplies wondering what am I going to use. I'm just going to draw from these supplies right here. And that makes it a lot easier. So we're going to start from the ground up with this card. I have my basic piece of cardstock on the bottom, a nice deep chocolate brown espresso cardstock. And it's from an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I cut that in half. So this is 8.5 by 5.5. I scored it at 4 1/4. Got it ready to go, and that's what I'm going to build my card on. Okay, and then I have my next layer right here. Okay, this one right here, and I want to show you something. Here's a piece of paper that I have from my original piece I started with, and you can see right away it's quite a bit lighter than this card. It's got all the decorative elements. I'm really enjoying the writing. You can see very soft print behind here, a little bit grungy, very tasteful, some lines, but it's maybe a bit too bright. I want to grunge it down just a little bit. So I'm going to take my favorite tool, one of my favorite tools, which is a Tim Holtz alcohol ink applicator. I love this tool, and I'm using a felt tip. Once you know it, when you buy those felt tips, they're not quite big enough. They don't exactly fit on that piece of Velcro right here. And then you run the risk of scratching your paper with the piece of Velcro. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over to one side, like so. Then, when I bend it over, I'm not going to wreck anything. Okay, and then I just have to make sure I'm using it as an angle. And you can see I've used this already. I'm going to apply my blue ink first around the edge of this card. Don't have to do anything in here because it's going to get covered up. Okay, but I am going to put the ink around the edges so it matches. Okay? Alright, so here's my stormy sky. Okay, I'm going to use this edge right here, and I'm just going to add the ink to the edges. And already I've got a nice blue showing up. If you don't have enough of your favorite paper, you can see that it almost doesn't matter for this particular layer. You could pick almost any piece of paper, just as long as it's not fighting with your other colors. Okay, and I'm ready to add just a little bit more grunge to that, make it a little bit more vintage. I'm going to use frayed burlap. I'm going to take my same piece right here, and I'm going to put this side on the edge, like so. Make sure that I'm not going to feel any of the Velcro bits and that it's not going to scratch my paper. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to go along the edges. Some people don't like to do that. They'd rather have a little bit more control over what's going to go on their paper, and that's where the Timmy comes in really handy. Then I go and ask my husband if he likes this, and he asks me why I wrecked the paper. I said, it looked so good before. What are you doing? So nothing. I'm just making it look better. Alright, so we'll add a little bit this way, here and there. Just tone it down, keep the blue, keep some of those light browns that were showing up. Okay, so you can see I've played with it enough that almost that piece of paper doesn't really matter exactly what we're using. Let's take my card, and you can see it's looking really good with the tone of the card that we want to have and all the colors that we're going to be using. Okay, got my piece of paper ready to go here. I've left one little adhesive tape here to see on video. I love this adhesive right here. There's several different kinds of brands. It's very tacky, really strong. A friend of mine directed me to it. Always used to use double stick tape, but after a while it dries out and then your little bits fall off your card. Super annoying. So she showed me this. Fair warning, once it's on, you're not moving it off unless you want to tear stuff. So I've got all my bits on there. I'm going to add it to my card. And I'm leaving a nice eighth all the way around. Okay, so there we are. We're working our way from the bottom up, and now we've got this little piece down. Now it's time to work on this piece right here. So we're going to need a little chocolate piece of paper this size, which is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches right here. And then this piece right here, 4 of those, they're 1 1/8 by 3 5/8 each. And then I actually had to trim it back on the bottom just a little bit so that I could have a better rim around here. So you might have to cut it a little scant on your 3 5/8 on these. So check those out. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to arrange them on this piece right here. Make sure they look good before we start sticking anything down. Okay, I've got my little pieces of paper all set and ready to go here. Maybe I'll do it that way. Okay, and you can see that all of these are a little bit too bright for what we're looking for. And we're also going to do a bit of stamping on them, a bit of grunging up, a bit of vintaging, tone them down a little bit. So we want to make sure that all of our pieces of paper fit properly on our next layer. I'm going to lay them out first. You can see I got a little piece of Christmas on there, but we just won't tell anybody when we give them the card. Here is our stronger color right here. It's good to have at least one strong color to work off of. Okay? And let's see what it looks like. Looks like we've got lots of room to work with. Should be able to get some nice spacing here. And that's what we're going for. But we're going to manipulate these pieces of paper first. Okay, I've got my Tim Holtz ready to go here. And because I don't want to call it my Tim Holtz alcohol ink applicator with the felt tip too many times, that's a big mouthful, I'm just going to call it a Timmy. So let's call it Timmy. That's what we're going to do. There it is. It's ready to go. Here's our ink pad. Frayed burlap. Okay, and now here's the stamp that I've picked to use with this. Okay, when you get new stamps, sometimes they're kind of sticky with residue and some release agent gummy bits kind of stuck on there, and you'll notice that they don't really pick up ink very well when you get them. One way to solve that problem is to take a fine file and carefully, without bending into it on one edge and just making lines on there, you're going to very carefully come from all sides and just file down with a hatch pattern on your image. This will help you absorb the ink better. You got to be pretty careful with it. Don't want to create new lines or new problems. So once you've done that and you feel like you've come at it from all angles and created a good scrub on there, you're going to take a wet wipe and get all of that off, making sure all of my debris is off. Okay. And now your stamp is ready to go. And instead of being frustrated with it not picking up as much ink as you would like, you should be able to pick up a lot of ink with this. And if it's still not working, just do it a little bit more, being very careful. Okay, it's ready to go. All right. So I'm going to take each of these pieces one at a time, and I'm going to tone them down a little bit with my frayed burlap. When you put your color on, you don't necessarily want to go up the edges of every side. Then you would have all of these tiny little framed pieces of paper. You want to stay away from that. At least I think you do. You want everything to be focused on these elements instead. So let's just frame this out. Put all your color around the edges. You can put a little bit of color here and there. Just don't make hard edges of framed color all the way around each piece. Put that aside. Take our Timmy, put some on the bottom, put some on the top. If you don't like how bright it is, just tone it down. I may not like those white bits here to have quite that bright of a color. Tone it down. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do all 4 pieces like that. I'm going to take my stamp, maybe add a little bit here and there with my image. Maybe go up here a little bit. Okay. Let's take one of the end pieces. Do the same thing. This is pretty white. This is the left side piece of my overall rectangle. And make sure it has a lot of color along the top, but because it's the very left side, I'm going to frame it out a little bit with my color. Maybe just do an overall toning down a little bit. There we go. I take my stamp again, and again it's the corner, so I'm going to make a more significant image, and I'm going to not fuss too much. As soon as I try to decide how hard I want to put stamping on there, and I hesitate too much, everything starts to sound complicated. It doesn't feel quite as fun anymore. So I'm going to be fairly random. There we go. That's ready to go. I'm going to mess around with my other pieces. I'm going to put them on this card, and then I'll show you the result. Okay, here I am working on this layer right here. I've got all my pieces cut, and I'm about to adhere them to my chocolate piece. Kind of put them spaced evenly out. I feel like I know how far I have to be from each side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this one first, this one next, and then I have a little bit of wiggle room with these guys here to even out the spaces in between. I've put my tape on there. Okay, I got my piece finished right here. I used some foam mounting on the other side because I need to raise it up after adding all of this ribbon. See, look at this layer here. See the foam mounting under there? We have to put that there because look how thick it gets with all this ribbon. It needs somewhere to go. And if we don't do that, and we just try to make it lie flat against this, there's going to be an unsightly blight of bent paper there. So we don't want that. So if we raise it up, we can avoid that problem altogether. So when I turn this over, I want to show you that I made sure I braced all the edges, and I put this here and I put it slightly up because my ribbon's going to run here, and I don't want anything to get in the way of that. We're ready to add the ribbon to this layer now, and what we're going to do is we're going to add this coral color right here, this lace right here, but not this blue, because we've got two little pieces of coral ribbon that need to get hidden by the blue. The way we're going to add the ribbon is we're going to use this extremely cool tape again, but this time it's in the 1/8 of an inch size. I've added it to the lace, and you won't even be able to see it, which is awesome. Added it to the coral, and I'm going to show you how to add it by doing it to this piece right here. So all you have to do is put it on the back. It doesn't have to be great because you're not going to see it. But look at that. You can get a pretty thin ribbon here and have total control of where you're going to have it because you're going to have excellent adhesive. What a great product. Put that away. Alright, so here's our piece right here. Again, make sure you're using the spot we left to wrap our ribbon around. Okay, got my little sample here. I'm going to take my first color, which is the coral, and take the cover off the adhesive. And if you hear scratching in the background, it's not me, it's my dog. He's under my desk. So he's scratching himself because he's got allergies. Okay, so here I am. This is where I'm going to put it. About 1/3 up. Smooth it down. Let's see if we can straighten that out just a little bit. Okay. Fold it over on the other side. And we'll get our next one, which is going to be the lace. Isn't this just the best way to put ribbon on? I love this. Uh-oh, doesn't want to come off. There it is. Okay. I want my scallop to show up against my coral. So I'm going to make sure it's facing up. Turn it over the back side. Nice and tidy. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to take these two pieces right here and I'm going to make little cool loops. The way I'm going to do that is by using my glue dots, just mini ones. I think the best way to use a glue dot is to press it onto whatever material you need first and then hope like crazy that this is going to come off. Ugh, there we go. Now I don't want too much bulk on my ribbon, so I'm just going to very carefully fold it over. There's my size right there. Got some excess right there. Because remember, I've only got this much room to hide the loop with. So I can't be putting a piece that's too big right here. It's going to show. Right, so when I fold it over, I'm just going to be folding it over really carefully, like so. I'm going to take my ribbon scissors and cut that off nice and clean. Maybe even down a bit. Don't want too much there. Looks like I'm going to cut through the glue dot a bit. There we go. This guy's ready. Put that aside. And I'm going to use glue dots yet again to tidily adhere them to my piece. Again, pressing the glue dot to the actual piece and then peeling it off, grabbing it with my nail. Come on off. There we go. Put that aside. Get this one ready. Press it on. Take it off. There we go. These two pieces are going to get evenly placed inside the confines of this one rectangular piece. So they're evenly placed. You can see one is bigger than the other. That's okay. We're going to hide it. Bring it down a little bit. There we go, that looks good. Before we cover it up or take the adhesive off, let's make sure we can hide it adequately. There we go. No problem. Let's peel this off. Nice, clean coverage. My dog's scratching again. It's time to give him another garlic pill. Might have to put his little donut around his head again to stop him from scratching. Poor little guy. There we go. There, those look awesome. Fold it over. Nice and tidy. Love that stuff. I don't know what we did before we had that. Okay, I'm going to take some time to peel all of this off. I have yet another layer accomplished. Got this put down. I used my foam mounting underneath it. I successfully placed my ribbon under here. There's my foam mounting right there. This is all nice and smooth. And we're progressing really nicely, and it's been nice and easy. Nothing hard about this at all. So I'm going to put that aside, and we are going to start working at these three right here. And because they're all the same, I can just show you this one, and you can do these other two, and it won't be hard at all. I have my stamp ready again. It's all good to go. And I have a piece of paper that is good quality cardstock that I have left over. I will save these little bits because I'm going to need 3 of these. This is the right size, and why burn the big 8.5 by 11 piece? I keep all those carefully. It's a great opportunity to use those up. Pat, pat, pat. I'm going to show you how well the stamp is going to pick up its ink because it took the time to just sand it very carefully. Great image. I love this set of stamps. Awesome. Pat, pat, pat. Here we go. Got my 3 images, and I hate to tell you this, but we're going to have to cut those out. So I'm going to turn this off, cut them out, and come back. Okay, now we are ready to make the 3 flowers. And we're going to use colored pencils. We're going to use a paint thinner to spread the pigment from our color pencils all around. This is one brand called Mona Lisa. It's an odorless paint thinner. There's another popular brand out there called Gamsol. So I don't want to dip into this huge thing right here. So what I did is I filled up this tiny little container. I put a little sponge in it, and the sponge wicks the liquid up here. Then when I take this off, I've got the liquid up here, and it doesn't immediately soak my paper stump, this right here. And you can be a little bit more cautious about just how much paint thinner you're picking up. There we go. It's ready to go. I'm going to put that there. Okay. And I'm going to take my lightest color first and put it right here. My main color is coral. So I want to make sure my flower actually looks coral when it's done. But I do have this red pencil here, which I'm going to use a little bit of the color to deepen the inside of the flower a little bit, so you kind of get that pinched flower look where you've got depth near the inside and more light color near the outside. And you can see I'm just really spreading around. This is not hard to do. This is not an in-depth colored pencil tutorial or anything like that. There's my coral color. Really pretty. Now I'm going to put a little depth here. Here's the thing. The darker the color, the more pigment is going down onto your piece of paper. So you've got to be very judicious about how much color you actually let go. So I'm going to do tiny little circles really close to the inside of my flower. I can go in here because I'm going to put a little rhinestone in there. And I'm just going to put some color here along the edges. There we go. I've kept my coral color. I've got my depth here. And now I'm going to finish off the flower by putting some red highlights on this little edge right here. And this will look even better when I carefully spread out the pigment and smooth out the color. Okay. You can see it was super easy. That's what everybody loves about using paint thinner, paper stumps, and colored pencils. Makes you look like a genius with hardly any effort. There you go. There's your beautiful flower. You can do it 2 more times. Here's a neat trick. I'm really enjoying the way this one looks, but I don't like how the color turned out for this one. So I'm going to take a white eraser, just plain, and I'm going to take the color off of the flower. This is really handy to know, because instead of restamping and redoing something because you're frustrated with the way it turned out, you can just tone it down. Now it won't all come off, but you can clearly see there's enough color off of there that you could start again and make the color the way you want it to become without too much fuss. I have my sample in front of me, and you can see that this particular piece has been put right in the middle, right here. But I can't put these 2 in the middle because I still need to have a little space in between them. I want to have it even from side to side, and I don't want them over top of each other. So I went ahead and I adhered the one in the middle because we know that one's easy. And I'm going to take off my foam mounting cover right here, and I'm going to put it off to the side. Make sure the bottoms are lined up. Until I feel like it looks good. I'm not going to press it down. Take the cover off of this one. And also offset it somewhat. Make sure I like it before I push down. Fortunately, the foam mounting adhesive isn't quite as strong as some of the other ones we've been using. Okay, I like the way that looks. It's even on the bottom. Looks even on the top. And I'll push that down. And we are so almost done. We've just got our butterfly to do. And we have some rhinestones and some clear 3D to put on our flowers. So we'll do that next. I put these on already because I know I'm going to put something on here that isn't going to dry for a while. So if I adhere it now, then I don't have to try to push these little elements on while something is trying to dry. I can safely stick those on right now, have it all ready to go, put on my glossy accents, and then just let it dry as I finish the rest of the card. Here's my glossy accents. This is one of the mini bottles they have now, which I love. And I always run around with a rubber band around it so that I can put a paper clip here. Because you know, as soon as I take this lid off, it may or may not run. So just to save my time, and just in case I'm somewhere else having fun making cards off-site from where all my regular stuff is, I make sure I have something to unplug it with. Okay, so you can see it's not coming out. So I take this out, put it in here, and it's just the right size. There's a little bump in here just because I had to unbend it, and as it turns out, it's kind of handy. Clear out the spout, pull this back out again, and now it's running. Okay, and you can see why I used my post-it note to protect all my stuff from getting whacked like that. It's great stuff, but you know, it's got a lot of gluing power, and so you might as well just accept the fact that it's going to do that and protect yourself. Sometimes this gets so gummed up, I trim the nozzle off so it's a little cleaner to use. So now I'm going to get rid of this pile of goo. Let's have that ready. We'll get our rhinestones, and we'll put those on first. It's probably not a good idea to put rhinestones on. Oh, see, that one flew away. Well, I'm on camera because, you know, they're kind of irritating to stick on. Oh, we're doing okay. Hold your breath. Maybe we'll get the last one done. Come on. Tomorrow my dog will be running around with a rhinestone under his foot. He'll be clicking along. There'll be a little rhinestone stuck to the bottom of his paw. Okay, those are in. I've got my glossy accents ready to go, and I'm going to put it around the edges here. And this gives us a nice little texture, some gloss. I'll let those dry. And it pops everything out, just that little extra bit, giving it a bit of specialness that it didn't have before. For such a tiny little bottle, I think they're like $1.99. You get a lot of bang for your buck. Oop, I put some right there. I'll show you how to get rid of it. Okay, now it's plugged up again. Get my handy dandy little paper clip here. Turn it around a little bit. Pull it out. Ah, there we go. Spread it around, spread it around. Perfect. Okay, put my lid on. Keep my paper clip ready to go. And then I actually store it upside down in my little workbox. These are done, except I've got this unsightly piece of glue sticking out. So I'm just going to push it back. There we go. And actually, you may not be able to see it, but because it's wet, it picked up some of my red pigment and it spread out a little bit. So I probably should have done that quicker, but it's not that obvious, so I'm going to let it go. I have my extra little piece of white paper back again, another spare piece I had. And now we're ready to do this butterfly right here. It's so similar to doing these ones. So you can see that this is not really hard at all. There's some cutting, you know, that can be a drag for some people. I don't know why I like cutting, I just do. But so this piece won't be hard. And what we'll do is we'll take that same frayed burlap. I've got my butterfly here. And because I have room and because I might need it later, I'm going to do 3 of these. This might be something nice to put on the inside of your card. You may not want to make it 3D, but you can definitely add the piece to the inside of your card so that there's matching between the inside and the outside. This way. I'm going to use my same coral colored pencil. I'm going to use my blue, and I'll probably use just a touch of this red. Let's take a look at our butterfly. There's very small amounts of color between here and there. I won't have to do much, and I added just a touch of the red around the edges to deepen the color. You can deepen the color even more if you want with a matching colored brown pencil, and put it along the very edges if you want to even deepen it more, or even maybe put a bit of deepening right here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick to the colors that I have. We'll make this as easy and fun to do as possible without too much work. We'll put that aside. We'll get our paper stump. I've got another paper stump here with the blue on it. You can see a little bit of blue. If you need to clean these, you take that same nail file that we used to clean our stamp with, and you can take off the color this way. Keep turning it around until you have a nice pointy clean stump. Sometimes you get a little knob at the top there, and just take it off. You're not going to get rid of the sting. Not entirely. And you don't need to. It's not going to come off. You can test and make sure that your stump is as clean as you need it to be by putting it in the Gamsol or your odorless paint thinner and then just running it on your white cardstock. If no color comes off, then you can feel safe that you're not going to have red or coral where you really wanted the blue. So let's take our blue. I'm going to pick the middle one because it looks like the best stamping. And I'm going to put some color here. I don't need that much, and you can see it's not hard. It's very easy. It doesn't look great until you take your paint thinner and spread it around. And then all of a sudden it's magical. You want to keep most of the color in the center here and then spread out the color thinly more towards the middle, because we're going to have the other color come in here and mix up a little briefly in the center. Don't want too much though. Nice and dark where the pinch of the butterfly wings is. That looks awesome and easy and fabulous. Okay, I'm going to add some coral color now. If you color outside the lines, don't worry. You can cut that off. That's the other great thing about coloring and cutting. I'm going to get my paper stump that already has the coral color on it. It did have red on it. I'm going to take that off because I don't necessarily want it red. I want to be able to control how much red I stick on there. And that's ready to go. I'm going to keep most of the color near the edge of the wing, and then in little circles just pull it up and mix it just slightly with the blue. I'm never a realist when it comes to coloring anything I love, like butterflies or flowers or buildings or anything else, trees. I really just pick my colors based on the paper that I have and the mood that I'm in and the fun I want to experience. I don't worry about realism all too much. Just want to have fun making my cards, make sure they look sharp, fun to look at, and fun to give away. Even when I use Stampscapes, which I love, they're beautiful, realistic images, and I don't necessarily treat them realistically either. I just love to use them. Alright, see how easy that was? And those look beautifully blended together, and we really didn't do anything much. Take a look at the antenna on this. I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna cut around those and try to preserve that. That just seems really hard to me. What I did was I just cut them off, and then I put my butterfly on this way. If you want, you could take your colored pencil, your brown one, and draw the antenna directly onto this piece of cardstock right here. Then you can still have your antenna. But I just didn't even bother. I just left it the way it was. I'm going to turn off the camera, cut this out, and get it ready to go. I have my freshly cut butterfly. It's ready to go up here. You can see it's maybe a little bit too light colored to match everything. So we're going to vintage and grunge it up just a little bit the same way that we did these. The only thing is, here's our Timmy. The only thing is, we want to be very cautious. I have a piece of paper under here. I'm going to get rid of some of my ink just to make sure that I can control how much ink goes on my butterfly. If I need more, I can get more, and I can just very cautiously come to the edge of my butterfly and add the ink, controlling how much actually goes on. Just kind of want to burnish the edges a little bit. I want to stay away from covering up the great color that I had with the blue and the coral. You know, the other thing I didn't do is I didn't actually add any red to this butterfly. I think I'm going to. Let's do this part first, since we started. And already that makes a difference. Just a little bit of this will increase the depth of your butterfly, making it a little bit more interesting. Adding some curve. To the result. I know that I'm going to add some distress stickles to the body right here, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I am going to get my red colored pencil and just add a little bit of color here to deepen my coral color, because I forgot earlier. Get my paint thinner out. It's not going to wreck any of the brown ink that we just stuck on. And we'll take a look at this and what it looks like compared to the other side, so you can see if you like the addition or not, because you may decide you may not want to do that. So there's that side. Maybe we could use a little bit of deepening right here. There we go. I like that. So I'm going to do it to this side. A little bit more here. See that? It's so easy to do, makes such a big difference. I love that. Okay, let's get this ready to put on our card. I'm going to bend it on one side of the body with my thumbnail, and then I'm going to put my thumbnail on the other side of the body and bend it so that the body stays flat against the paper and the wings come up a little bit. Of course, you know what this means. It means that you won't be able to send this in the mail. Uh-oh, look at that. I'm going to add a little bit of glue right there to help that stay on. And I'm going to use our glossy accents for glue, just because I have it available. It works as a glue very well. I'm going to put a little bit of touch of a piece of glue right there and try not to push it down onto my paper, and that should help secure. I'll put some on this side too. That tiny little piece so it's a little bit stronger. Let's turn it over. I've already bent it, which helps. And now I just want placement. I don't want to get too close to my other elements. This doesn't look as good. This doesn't look as good. I'm thinking somewhere around here would look really good. I like to kind of bisect those underlying pieces of paper a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to stay away from these little pieces right here. Push that down. Fix this just a little bit. And I'm also going to cover that part with glossy accents from the top. So everything is pulled up here. We're ready to go. All done. Now, if you don't want to apply your glossy accents now and you want to wait for this to dry, that's always a good option. Remember, this is still wet, but we're trying to stay away from it. But I have this thing, once I start messing around with my cards, I have this strong desire to finish them, so maybe I take risks that I normally wouldn't take. Maybe that a person shouldn't take if they're uncomfortable with how sticky or wet something is. Okay, so let's take our glossy accents and put it on. I don't want to push too hard because I've got this little antenna with something on the bottom there. I'm just very lightly putting that on. If you put too much on, it's gonna puddle. And it will dry clear, so you notice that that did push down. Pull it back up. There we go. Do the other side. I should warn you that if you put this in your car and you leave it overnight and it's cold outside, your glossy accents will crack on top. That's kind of pretty, but if you don't like that look, make sure you bring it inside and you keep the card on the warm side and don't let it crack. Okay, there we go. Not hard. Now we're going to use something that completely matches all that frayed burlap we were using. This is Distress Stickles frayed burlap. This nozzle is kind of big. I'm going to get my Post-it note again, and I'm going to make sure everything's running with that first. I should get little mini Post-it notes, shouldn't I? Okay, so it seems like it's running. It's a little gummy, but we'll use it anyway. Okay, and maybe doing some pat, pat, pat as you squeeze just a little bit. There we have it there. I'm going to, even though we already have glossy accents on here, I'm going to add a little bit to the edges. Pat, pat, pat. A little bit here. A little bit here. Pat, pat, pat. And while everything is drying, you might as well let all your stickles and your glossy accents dry at the same time. It's a little bit globby, but still gonna look great when it dries. Let's take our tweezer and just Spread this around, make sure we like where it is. Pull this down just a bit. Everything will dry nice. A little bit of sparkle, a little bit of dimension. It looks pretty good. Lift this up. Lift this up. And we'll put it aside to dry. Here's the outside of our card, looking beautifully finished. And let's take a look at the inside of our card. I took this color right here and I made a bottom mat 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So there's the tiniest edge right here. So I've got some beautiful chocolate brown, a little bit of coral, and then this piece right here is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I picked the piece of paper that had the butterfly on it already, that we picked some of our colors from. You can see where I stamped it. Little bits here and there. You can see where I distressed it. Very easy, something you already did already. Lots of room to write, and if you wanted to, you could put another set of papers up here in the same style, and then you could write starting from the top and going all the way to the bottom. The signature, a little extra stamp there. If you don't have a piece of paper with the butterfly on it, no problem. Take one of those extra pieces that you had, color this, cut it out, and instead of making it 3D, just put it wherever you want on the piece of paper. You could put it right over top of some of this design right here, or in the bottom, or in the top. Okay, that's the end of my first video. It might be a little long. I talk a lot, but I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to send you another one soon. Thank you.